The storm dances of gulls, the barking game of seals, over and under the ocean, divinely superfluous beauty rules the games, presides over destinies, makes trees grow and hills tower, waves fall. The incredible beauty of joy, stars with fire, the joining of lips. Oh, let our loves too be joined. There's not a maiden burns and thirsts for love more than my blood for you, by the shore of seals, while the wings weave like a web in the air, divinely superfluous beauty. Stone cutters fighting time with marble, you four defeated challengers of oblivion, eat cynical earnings, knowing rock splits, records fall down, the square-limbed Roman letters scale in the thaws, wear in the rain. The poet as well builds his monument mockingly, for man will be blotted out, the blithe earth die, the brave sun die blind and blackened to the heart. Yet stones have stood for 1,000 years, and pained thoughts found the honey of peace in old poems. The ebb slips from the rock, the sunken tide rocks lift streaming shoulders out of the slack, the slow west sombering its torch. A ship's light shows faintly far out over the weight of the prone ocean on the low cloud. Over the dark mountain, over the dark pine wood, down the long dark valley along the shrunken river returns the splendor without rays, the shining of shadow, peace-bringer, the matrix of all shining and quieter of shining. Where the shore widens on the bay, she opens dark wings and the ocean accepts her glory. O soul, worshipful of her, you like the ocean have grave depths where she dwells always, and the film of waves above that takes the sun takes also her with more love. The sun-lovers have a blonde favourite, a father of lights and noises, wars, weeping and laughter, hot labour, lust and delight, and the other blemishes. Quietness flows from her, deeper fountain, and he will die, and she is immortal. Far off from here, the slender flocks of the mountain forest move among stems like towers of the old redwoods to the stream. No twig crackling, dip shy wild muzzles into the mountain water among the dark ferns. Oh, passionately at peace, you being secure will pardon the blasphemies of glowworms, the lamp in my tower, the fretfulness of cities, the cressets of planets, the pride of the stars. This August night in a rift of cloud, Antares reddens, the great one, the ancient torch, a lord among lost children. The earth's orbit doubled would not girdle his greatness. One fire globed, out of grasp of the mind, enormous. But to you, O night, what? Not a spark? What flicker of a spark in the faint far glimmer of a lost fire dying in the desert? Dim coals of a sand pit the Bedouins wandered from at dawn. Our singing prayer, to what gulfs tempted suddenly are you more lost? To us the near-hand mountain be a measure of height, the tide-worn cliff at the sea-gate a measure of continuance. The tide, moving the night's vastness with lonely voices, turns. The deep, dark, shining Pacific leans on the land, feeling his cold strength to the outmost margins. You, night, will resume the stars in your time. O passionately at peace, when will that tide draw shoreward? Truly the spouting fountains of light, Antares, Arcturus, tire of their flow. They sing one song, but they think silence. The striding winter giant Orion shines and dreams darkness. And life, the flicker of men and moths and the wolf on the hill, though furious for continuance, passionately feeding, passionately remaking itself upon its mates, remembers deep inward the calm mother, the quietness of the womb and the egg, the primal and the latter silences. Dear night, It is memory prophesies, prophecy that remembers, the charm of the dark. And I and my people, we are willing to love the 80 years heartily, but as a sailor loves the sea when the helm is for harbour. Have men's minds changed, or the rock hidden in the deep of the waters of the soul broken the surface? A few centuries gone by was none dared not to people the darkness beyond the stars with harps and habitations. But now, dear is the truth, life has grown sweeter and lonelier, and death is no evil. Sports and gallantries, the stage, the arts, the antics of dancers, the exuberant voices of music, have charm for children, but lack nobility. It is bitter earnestness that makes beauty. The mind knows, grown adult. A sudden fog drift muffled the ocean. A throbbing of engines moved in it. At length, a stone's throw out, between the rocks and the vapour, one by one moved shadows out of the mystery, shadows, fishing boats, trailing each other, following the cliff for guidance, holding a difficult path between the peril of the sea fog and the foam on the shore granite. One by one, trailing their leader, 6 crept by me, out of the vapour and into it, the throb of their engines subdued by the fog, patient and cautious, coasting all round the peninsula, back to the buoys in Monterey Harbour. A flight of pelicans is nothing lovelier to look at. The flight of the planets is nothing nobler. All the arts lose virtue against the essential reality of creatures going about their business among the equally earnest elements of nature. White-maned, wide-throated, the heavy-shouldered children of the wind leap at the sea cliff. The invisible falcon brooded on water and bred them in wide waste places, in a bride chamber wide to the stars' eyes, in the centre of the ocean, where no prows pass, no island is lifted. The sea beyond Lobos is whitened with the falcon's passage. He is here now. The sky is one cloud. His wing feathers hiss in the white grass. My sapling cypresses, writhing in the fury of his passage, dare not dream of their centuries of future endurance of tempest. I have granite and cypress, both long-lasting, planted in the earth. But the granite sea boulders are prey to no hawk's wing. They have taken worse pounding. Like me, they remember old wars and are quiet. For we think that the future is one piece with the past. We wonder why treetops and people are so shaken. Great enough both accepts and subdues. The great frame takes all creatures. From the greatness of their element, they all take beauty. Gulls, and the dingy freight ship lurching south in the eye of a rain wind, the airplane dipping over the hill, hawks hovering the white grass of the headland, cormorants roosting upon the guana-whitened skerries, pelicans a-wind, sea slime shining at night in the wave stir like drowned men's lanterns, smugglers signalling a cargo to land, or the old Point Pinus lighthouse lawfully winking over dark water, the flight of the twilight herons, lonely wings and a cry, or with motor vibrations that hum in the rock like a new storm tone of the oceans to turn eyes westward, the Navy's new-bought Zeppelin going by in the twilight, far out seaward, relative only to the evening star and the ocean. It slides into a cloud over Point Lobos. While this America settles in the mould of its vulgarity, heavily thickening to empire, and protest, only a bubble in the molten mass, pops and sighs out, and the mass hardens. I, sadly smiling, remember that the flower fades to make fruit, the fruit rots to make earth. Out of the mother, and through the spring exultances, ripeness and decadence, and home to the mother. You making haste, haste on decay, not blameworthy, Life is good, be it stubbornly long, or suddenly a mortal splendor. Meteors are not needed less than mountains. Shine, perishing republic. But for my children, I would have them keep their distance from the thickening center. Corruption never has been compulsory. When the cities lie at the monster's feet, there are left the mountains. And boys, be in nothing so moderate as in love of man, a clever servant, insufferable master. There is the trap that catches noblest spirits, that caught, they say, God when he walked on earth. Man, introverted man, having crossed in passage and but a little with the nature of things this latter century, has begot giants. But being taken up like a maniac with self-love and inward conflicts, cannot manage his hybrids. Being used to deal with edgeless dreams, now he's bred knives on nature, turns them also inward. They have thirsty points, though. His mind forebodes his own destruction. Actaeon, who saw the goddess naked among leaves, and his hounds tore him. A little knowledge, a pebble from the shingle, a drop from the oceans. Who would have dreamed this infinitely little too much? In the purple light, heavy with redwood, the slopes drop seaward, headlong convexities of forest, drawn in together to the steep ravine. Below, on the sea cliff, a lonely clearing, a little field of corn by the stream side, a roof under spared trees. Then the ocean, like a great stone someone has cut to a sharp edge and polished to shining. Beyond it, the fountain and furnace of incredible light flowing up from the sunk sun. In the little clearing, a woman is punishing a horse. She had tied the halter to a sapling at the edge of the wood, but when the great whip clung to the flanks, the creature kicked so hard she feared he would snap the halter. She called from the house the young man, her son, who fetched a chain tie rope. They, working together, noosed the small rusty links round the horse's tongue and tied him by the swollen tongue to the tree. Seen from this height, they are shrunk to insect size. You cannot distinguish the blood dripping from where the chain is fastened, the beast shuddering, but the thrust neck and the legs far apart. You can see the whip fall on the flanks, the gesture of the arm. You cannot see the face of the woman. The enormous light beats up out of the west across the cloud bars of the trade wind. The ocean darkens. The high clouds brighten. The hills darken together. Unbridled and unbelievable beauty covers the evening world. Not covers, grows apparent out of it, as Venus down there grows out from the lit sky. What said the prophet? I create good, and I create evil. I am the Lord. This coast, crying out for tragedy like all beautiful places, the quiet ones ask for quieter suffering, but here the granite cliff, the gaunt cypress's crown demands what victim? The dikes of red lava and black, what titan? The hills like pointed flames beyond Soberanes, the terrible peaks of the bare hills under the sun, what immolation? This coast crying out for tragedy like all beautiful places, and like the passionate spirit of humanity, pain for its bread. God's many victims, the painful deaths, the horrible transfigurements. I said in my heart, better invent than suffer. Imagine victims, lest your own flesh be chosen the agonist, or you martyr some creature to the beauty of the place. And I said, burn sacrifices once a year to magic horror away from the house. This little house here you have built over the ocean with your own hands, beside the standing boulders. For what are we? The beast that walks upright, with speaking lips and little hair, to think we should always be fed, sheltered, intact, and self-controlled. We soon are more liable than the other animals. Pain and terror, the insanities of desire, not accidents, but essential, and crowd up from the core. I imagined victims for those wolves. I made them phantoms to follow. They have hunted the phantoms and missed the house. It is not good to forget over what gulfs the spirit of the beauty of humanity, the petal of a lost flower blown seaward by the night wind, floats to its quietness. Boulders, blunted like an old bear's teeth, break up from the headland. Below them all the soil is thick with shells, the tide rock feasts of a dead people. Here the granite flanks are scarred with ancient fire. The ghosts of the tribe crouch in the nights beside the ghost of a fire. They try to remember the sunlight. Light has died out of their skies. These have paid something for the future luck of the country, while we living keep old griefs in memory. Though God's envy is not a likely fountain of ruin, to forget evils calls down sudden reminders from the cloud. Remember deaths be our redeemers. Imagine victims our salvation. White as the half-moon at midnight, someone flame-like passed me, saying, "I am Tamar Caldwell, I have my desire." Then the voice of the sea returned when she had gone by, the stars to their towers. Beautiful country burn again. Point Pinus down to the Sur rivers burn as before with bitter wonders, land and ocean and the Carmel water. He braised humanity in a mortar to bring the savour from the bruised root. A man having bad dreams, who invents victims, is only the ape of that god. He washes it out with tears and many waters, calcines it with fire in the red crucible, deforms it, makes it horrible to itself. The spirit flies out and stands naked. He sees the spirit. He takes it in the naked ecstasy. It breaks in his hand. The atom is broken. The power that massed it cries to the power that moves the stars. I have come home to myself. Behold me. I bruised myself in the flint mortar and burnt me in the red shell. I tortured myself. I flew forth, stood naked of myself, and broke me in fragments. And here am I, moving the stars that are me. I have seen these ways of God. I know of no reason for fire and change and torture and the old returnings. He being sufficient might be still. I think they admit no reason. They are the ways of my love. Unmeasured power, incredible passion, enormous craft, no thought apparent but burns darkly, smothered with its own smoke in the human brain vault. No thought outside, a certain measure in phenomena, the fountains of the boiling stars, the flowers on the foreland, the ever-returning roses of dawn. It is likely enough that lions and scorpions guard the end. Life never was bonded to be endurable, nor the act of dying unpainful. The brain burning too often earns, though it held itself detached from the object, often a burnt age. No matter, I shall not shorten it by hand. Incapable of body or unmoved of brain is no evil. One always went envying the quietness of stones. But if the striped blossom insanity spread lewd splendors and lightning terrors at the end of the forest, or intolerable pain work its known miracle, exile the monarch's soul, set a sick monkey in the office, remember me entire and balanced when I was younger, and could lift stones and comprehend in the praises the cruelties of life. Happy people die whole. They're all dissolved in a moment. They have had what they wanted. No hard gifts. The unhappy linger a space. But pain is a thing that is glad to be forgotten. But one who has given his heart to a cause or a country, his ghost may spaniel it a while, disconsolate to watch it. I was wondering how long the spirit that sheds this verse will remain when the nostrils are nipped, when the brain rots in its vault or bubbles in the violence of fire to be ash in metal. I was thinking some stalks of the wood, whose roots I married to the earth of this place, will stand 5 centuries. I held the roots in my hand, the stems of the trees between 2 fingers. How many remote generations of women will drink joy from men's loins, and, dragged from between the thighs of what mothers, will giggle at my ghost when it curses the axemen, grey, impotent voice on the sea wind when the last trunk falls. The women's abundance will have built roofs over all this foreland, will have buried the rock foundations I laid here. The women's exuberance will canker and fail in its time, and like clouds the houses unframe. The granite of the prime stand from the heaps. Come, storm, and wash clean. The plaster is all run to the sea, and the steel all rusted. The foreland resumes the form we loved when we saw it. The one at the end of the age and far off from this place should meet my presence in the poem. The ghost would not care but be here, long sunset shadow in the seams of the granite, and forgotten the flesh, a spirit for the stone. When the sun shouts and people abound, one thinks there were the ages of stone and the age of bronze and the Iron Age. Iron, the unstable metal, steel made of iron, unstable as his mother. The towered-up cities will be stains of rust on mounds of plaster. Roots will not pierce the heaps for a time. Kind rains will cure them. Then nothing will remain of the Iron Age, and all these people but a thigh bone or so, a poem stuck in the world's thought, splinters of glass in the rubbish dumps, a concrete dam far off in the mountain. Here were new idols again to praise him. I made them alive, but when they looked up at the face before they had seen it, they were drunken and fell down. I have seen and not fallen. I am stronger than the idols, but my tongue is stone. How could I speak him? My blood in my veins is sea water. How could it catch fire? The rock shining dark rays, and the rounded crystal the ocean, his beam of blackness and silence, edged with azure, bordered with voices. The moon her brittle tranquility, the great phantoms, the fountains of light, the seed of the sky, their plaintive splendors whistling to each other. There's nothing but shines, though it shine darkness, nothing but answers. They are caught in the net of their voices. Though the voices be silence, they are woven in the nerve warp. One people, the stars and the people, one structure, the voids between stars, the voids between atoms, and the vacancy in the atom, in the rings of the spinning demons, are full of that weaving. One emptiness, one presence, who had watched all his splendor, had known but a little, all his night but a little. I made glass puppets to speak of him. They splintered in my hand and have cut me. They are heavy with my blood. But the jewel-eyed herons have never beheld him, nor heard, nor the tall owl with cat's ears, the bittern in the willows, the squid in the rock in the silence of the ocean, the vulture that broods in the pitch of the blue and sees the earth globed, her edges dripping into rainbow twilights, eyed hungers, blind fragments. I sometime shall fashion images great enough to face him a moment and speak while they die. These here have gone mad, but stammer the tragedy you